Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are look at how variable work in C++ and we will look at the data type concept in C++. Let's just check the data type concept in C++. Data can be of many types, for example, character, integer, real, string, etc. Here we just see some of the concept of the real, character, integer, string, etc. Anything enclosed in a single quotation represent the character in C++. Numbers without fraction represent integer data, and the number with fraction represent the real data, and anything enclosed in double quotations represent a string. So C++, like any other language, provides ways and facilities to handle different types of data by providing the data types. Data types means the data types are means to identify the types of the data and associated operations of handling it. C++ data types are like types of two data types, which are fundamental types and the derived data types. Derived data types constructed from the fundamental types are array, function, pointer, reference, constants, classes, structure, union, and enumeration. And the fundamental data types are integer data types, character, float point numbers, and double data types and the void data types. So we have the sum of the range and sum of the storing size of the data types, which is character take 1 data types and integer take 2 or 4 storage bytes in the data types, and then we have the long, which take 4 byte in the data type, and then float, which also take 4 byte, and then double, it's take 10 bytes of storage size in the data type. Okay, so let's just see the example of this data type in C++. So here I just write hash include and IOStream. It's IOStream. Then here I just define using namespace, which is std. Okay, now here I just define void main as a main function, so void mean nothing here. Okay, now here I just write integer, so integer is our data type here, so I just provide integer, which is num1, and integer num2, and then I just provide sum, which is equal to 0. So first of all, I just take 3 integers here, which is a number 1, number 2, and add the last sum, which is equal to 0, means this is equal to 0. So C out here, so C out, and then I will print enter any two numbers to find the sum. Okay, and then here I just define slash n for single line break here. So this is if you want to give the single line break to your text, you simply use slash n with that. Now I just define cin. So cin is for taking the user input. We will learn about that in our next lecture. So num1 and num2 here. So I just take 2 user input with num1 and num2. So I will add the value of num1 here, then add the value of num2 here. Then here I just define the logic. So sum is a variable here, and variable type is the integer here. So num1 plus num2. So I just create a logic here to add these two numbers with number 1 and number 2, and then I just print cout, and the cout here is I just write slash n for the single line break, and here I just write sum of two number r, and then close this, and here I just write concatenation of sum here. So I just write give it the result of sum to this cout, and then return 0, means return nothing. if you are also just write get ch here and then close this code here. This is means that when you are just closing the program, when you're just getting the results, the program will not get closed by default. So I just simply define return 0, and I just run this code, and this is compiling here, and yes. So as you can see here, this is the output of the data type with the integer. So I just write 2, then enter and 2. So it will give me the result of for here. So this is the simple program of the data type with the integer. If you want to take the input data type with the float, so simply write float, string, and any data type. Here now just turn to the functions. So now we just turn to the variables of the C++. First of all, we just check how to define the variable in C++. So I just create a new program, and here I just save this program with variable2.c++. So here I just told you that first of all, the definition of the variable. So variable represent storage location in the computer memory. Constants are data items whose value cannot change while the program is running. So this is called the variables. So variable allow you to store and work with data in the computer memory. Now just see the example of this variable here. And here, first of all, I just define the library of hash include and iostring. Okay, now using namespace std. Okay, and then I just define integer main, which is a main function here, and afterwards I just open my brackets here, and here I just declare the variable. So integer a and b is my variables here, and then I just define integer result. So integer result is my third variable here. So these all are my variables here. Now we just do processing on these variables. So a, which is equal to 5, b, which is equal to 6, and a, which is equal to a minus b. So I just define some of the operations on that, and here after that I just write a, which is equal to a plus 1, and then I just write result, which is equal to a minus b. So I just print this result. So here I just write cout, and the cout here is I just write the result here. Okay, so I just print this result in the cout, and now I just terminate this program with return 0. So this is my simple program to declaring the variable. So here, as you can see, I just define two variables and then integer result. So this is also my variable. So this is simply defining or declaring the variables here. So I just run this code right now and click on yes. So yes, I just missed this semicolon here and print again. And you can see here my expected output is 0 here. Okay. So a, which is 6, and b, which is also 6, so 0. A minus b, which is 0. Okay, now we just see one other example of this declaring the variables here. So now we just see the example of declaring the variable. So I just create one other file with the variables here. So I just write variable number 3.c++. So I just copy this hash include and iostream here and paste it here. Now I just define integer main, and after that I just going to create a variable with the name of integer number, and then number, which is equal to 5. Now after that I just write cout, and the cout here is I just write that the value of number is and I just close this string here, and here I just print number, and then end with end line. So this is also the basic operator to end the line, so basic operations to end the line here. And now cout, which is I just write the value of number is, and here I just print the number. So this is the number which is integer what I just create in my with my variable here. Okay, so end line, so end my this line here, and number which is equal to 7. So I just define the number which is equal to 7, and then cout, which is now the value of number is. So I just change the value of the number here. Okay, and here I just write number as a concatenation, and then end line. Okay, so end line here. Okay, now at the last I just write return and 0. So this is my second example what I is creating for the variables here. First of all, I just create the variable name which is a number, and the number which is equal to 5. So the value of number is, then I print this number value, and afterwards it will go to change the value of this number. And I just run this code right now, and you can see here the value of the number is, and the number you can see first line, and then it will print the number here, and then it will change the another value of this number which is 7. Now we just see one another example with a variable assignment and initialization. So here, as an assignment operator is assigning or copying a value into the variable, you have also seen that it is possible to assign value to the variable when they are defined. This is called initialization. When multiple variables are defined in same statement, it is possible to initialize some of them without having to initialize all of them. In C++ terminology, the operand on the left side of the is equal to symbol must be an value that identify are placed in the memory whose content may be changed. Now we just see the example of value assignment and initialization, and here I just create another file which is variable number 4.c++. Here I just define hash and include, which is IOStream. Then I just define using namespace, which is std, and here I just define integer main, which is the main function here. Now I just define a variable or initialize a variable with the name of a string, and string which is month, and month which is equal to, I just write here February. So this is the month name here, and this is February. Okay, and now I just close this string here. So month is initialized to the February here. Okay, so now I just define one another variable which is data type, which is integer, and integer which is year. So year is not initialized here. Okay, now here I just define days, and days which is equal to 28. So days is initialized to 28 here, like month is initialized to February here. So year is not initialized here. Okay, now here I just initialize or assign the value to my year. So year which is 2018. So now year is assigned a value, means now year is initialized here. Now here I just write cout, which is here I just write in. So in here, and here I just write the variable name which is year, and after this year I just use some of the empty string here, and then I just write here month. So this is also the variable here, so I just print this variable. So here I just write month head, and here I just write days. Okay, and then I just write days dot slash n here, and I just close this code here. Okay, now I just write return, and sorry, it's return which is 0. So first of all, I just create a library, and then using namespace, then integer main function here. Now here I just creating the data type which is string, which is a month is equal to February. So month is initializing the February, means month is assigning a value which is the February here. Then year have the no initialization, so which is simply the year. Then days which is equal to 28, so days is initialized to 28 here. And then in the line number 9, year which is equal to 2018, so year is initialized here, means assign a value to the year here which is 2018. Then I just print cout, which is the string of in, and then print the variable year, month, and had the days, and at the last I just write days. Okay, so I just check the output for this code and see the result, what is the printed here. So here you can see in 2008 February had 28 days. So this is simply the output of this initializing the variable. In 2018 February had 28 days. So this is a simple output of this example. Now we just see the variable scope here. A variable scope is a part of the program that has access to the variable. The scope of the variable is a part of the program where it may be used. The first rule of the scope is that a variable cannot be used in any part of the program before it's defined. Like I just create one another program with variable scope and variable number 5.c++. I just copy this and paste it here. Now I just define a variable which is integer. Sorry, not define the variable so far. So I just define cout, and then here I just write the value. Okay. So the value has not been defined yet. Means this is an error here. This program what I am just creating, it cannot find its variable here. Okay. Now after that, this cout, I just define the integer value and initialize the value which is 100. So I just define the scope here, which is the integer value which is equal to 100 scope. And at the last I just write return, and return is 0 here. Now just check the output for this code and return yes. The return value is yes. So you can see here this is the error, which is cout value is not defined here. Okay. So you can see here the error which is value was not declared in the scope. So this is simply the variable with its scope. So I just told you the rule of the scope is that a variable cannot be used in any part of the program before its definition. When I just define this value here and run this code right now, so you can see here my variable value is 10. So this is simply the variable scope, that you cannot define the variable before the program is defined. Okay, so I just give it the same position, which is integer value which is 100. So this is simply the variable scope. So if you find any of the problem regarding the variables and the data type in the C++, please let me know. Thanks for watching this lecture.